After a man, his wife, and child escape a government-run lab after a deadly virus escapes the lab, they unknowingly spread the virus, infecting and killing the majority of the world. There is only a small number of people left who are immune to the virus. Everyone gets these dreams about two beings. One is Mother Abigail, Ruby Dee, who represents everything good, and the other being Randall Flagg, Jamie Sheridan, who represents everything evil. The survivors of the plague have to decide who they want to follow, whether that be the path of good or the path of evil. So there is a lot more to this miniseries than I originally thought. Usually, King miniseries are 2 episodes, and are maybe a little more than an hour. However, here, there's 4 episodes, and each are 90 minutes. Look, I knew the book was long before I started this, but damn, didn't realize the miniseries would be 6 hours long. Well, I got through it for you guys, so here we are. It was a good miniseries. Had some really good moments, had a lot of dumb moments, but it was still solid. The performances from the main cast were mostly hit and miss. Gary Sinise definitely gave one of the better performances as Stu. He had a good humbleness about him that I really liked. Rob Lowe as Nick was pretty damn good as well. Having relied mostly on body language for his role, he did a fairly good job. Corin Nemec, hope I'm pronouncing that right, as Harold was really annoying, but I guess that was the point. I think you're supposed to have sympathy for him, but it really wasn't translated all that well. If you aren't, then that makes sense. Adam Stork was really good as Larry. Franst you think he's this generic and pompous asshole, but the more you get to know him, the more you like him. Molly Ringwald was fucking horrendous as Franny. Not 1 ounce of her performance was believable. She delivered her lines like she was a 10-year-old with no experience. Laura San Giacomo, again, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, was okay as Nadine. Her arc was definitely more interesting than the actual performance. Bill Fagerbakke, again, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing these incorrectly. I'm not good with pronouncing shit. He played Tom Cullen, and he delivers the right mix of dumbness and likability. I guess he just has a knack for playing dumb characters. But even despite that, Tom was still a very lovable character. Miguel Ferrer was really great and had a really interesting arc that wasn't as explored as much as it should have been. Ray Walston as Glenn Bateman was really good and pretty likable. Peter Van Norden was also really likable as Ralph, but he didn't get a lot of screen time. Matt Frewer was pretty awesome. Shawnee Smith was ungodly annoying, but again, I assume that was the point. Bridget Ryan wasn't good. Ruby Dee was very good. You definitely believe her as the idea of the beacon of goodness. Jamie Sheridan was really awesome as Randall Flagg. He pretty much nailed every scene he was in, with the exception of whenever he changed into the weird demon face. There, he was a lot cornier. Definitely better than... well, we'll get there when we get there. Everyone else was fine, nothing exceptional. Most of the acting was serviceable. The dialogue was definitely the detractor for most of it. It was super cheesy and not well written, for a movie at least. With a book, dialogue isn't the only way to sell you on information. You do it with inner monologue or a description of body language or a third-person narrative. When you translate just that dialogue into a screenplay, it doesn't really work as well, hence the mediocre dialogue. I like the story, or at least the rough idea of the fact that it's not just about a plague, or not just about the aftermath of the plague, but it's about a battle between good and evil, God and the devil, all encompassed into one story. It is a lot, but I don't think the miniseries could cover everything from the novel, as many people stated about this miniseries. Obviously, you couldn't get into the complexities and intricacies of the novel, which somewhat makes the miniseries suffer, as you can't include those intriguing bits. Despite this, though, it's still a decent story, despite it being extremely simplified. The first and last episodes are the best parts, and definitely the most interesting parts of the story. I feel like the first half of the miniseries, episodes 1 and 2, were more about the characters, while the second half, episodes 3 and 4, were more about the story. While yes, the first half still had story, and the second half still had decent character moments, the first half was more so about getting to know the characters and who they really were, while the second half was more so about the quest to destroy Flagg. Plus, another negative I have is that I feel like there is a major chunk missing from the miniseries in between episodes 2 and 3. I just feel like a ton of information about the characters was missing. And not only that, but things the audience missed, like Lucy and Larry getting married, a character we didn't know dying off screen, Stu and Franny's feelings for one another, and some other info is delivered to the audience like we already know it. It's kind of weird. Overall, this was a decent miniseries. Despite a really great villain in Randall Flagg, a couple of other good performances, and an interesting story, it has too many goofy moments, cheesy lines, and some other bad performances that prevent it from being really good. 11/22/63, this is not.